everybody. Thanks for joining me for another exciting episode of The Rundown with Ramon. My name is Ramon Ray, publisher of zoneofgenius.com and host of The Rundown with Ramon show on USA Today Networks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, we're going to have an amazing interview with an entrepreneur, Dixie Bagley, who's going to talk to us about her entrepreneurial journey, how she went from a negative balance to whatever you call Dixie, not a negative balance, and more her family life, and of course, what it's like to be an entrepreneur and how she succeeded and thrived in that. Dixie, I'm so glad you're here today. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. And I hope as we talk today that your day has been going relatively well.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And it's all going great.
Very well. You're welcome. Dixie, tell us who you are today. Before we go back a bit to the journey that brought you here. Who are you today? And for those who are listening and want to be in touch with you, tell us some of the websites or Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you have, that best way we can connect you. But who are you today? Who do you serve? I know you do a few things, but take your time and unpack that, please.
Yeah, I am still very active in the wedding industry. So, wedding planner, venue owner, wedding industry speaker, wedding business mentor. I service and help anything, anywhere from B2B to B2C. So, I deal with people who are getting married and looking to spend a lot of money and need a lot of advice going into things, especially on the financial end of things. And I also service venues, people getting started in the wedding industry, whether it be photography, DJ, on the best ways to start their business, but also more importantly, transition when they're in that phase of, I'm getting older. I want to slow down, but I still want to work, but I don't want to retire. So I do a lot of that. And I travel 50% of the year and work, from wherever I am, which is really nice.
He is.
And
I'm in that same boat.
Yeah. And my favorite place to be found is probably Instagram. I'm an open book. I have obviously my business Instagrams, but my personal one is Dixie Does Weddings. And I tell people I'm just super easy. I'm not real complicated. Just hook up with me there, send me a DM, whatever. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. Give us an example of the wedding industry. What is that like? Give us, those who don't know the wedding industry too much, what is that like? And especially as you serve it, is it as simple as somebody saying, I want a wedding and it has to have this look like this? Dixie's like, great. Here it goes months later, or is it give us a peek into 2 or 3 scenarios for the ideal client that may work with you?
yeah, I mean, there's really no rules anymore, and I'm kind of I am glad that there's no rules anymore. People are much more open to bucking the tradition. I mean, I've never been a traditional kind of person, so I love the fact that people are getting away from that. But it's everything from like last minute elopements all the way up to all weekend weddings / family reunion style events. Where everybody comes and stays on the property. So we cater to both ends of the spectrum. We go from, somebody who pulls up and just wants to get married and have a quick little sweet elopement to an all-week affair, with their whole family staying on site. So it really just depends. I found that my comfort zone is, I can function on all ends. I'm totally happy certain days during the summer. I like those elopements where I'm only out, working 2 or 3 hours a day. And during fall and spring, those all week weddings are great. So we do a little bit of everything. It just really depends. Most of my clientele for my bigger weddings are very financially stable, financially savvy people. A lot of family money going into the weddings, and they want somebody who's experienced with multiple business ownerships as we are. And so they trust me spending their money, so that's a lot of my clientele. I don't really get the in-between DIYers or anything like that, and then, like I said, I go down to these people who are having elopements that are still coming from, Tennessee or South Georgia or Florida, coming here to have an elopement, just 2 people. So
I love it. And is your ideal client, Dixie, is that the client you're serving, are they doing it on property? Then where's here at for you? Unpack that for us a bit. Are you traveling
yes,
to others or are they coming to your site?
So I'm in Rome, Georgia. I own a 300-acre European barn estate wedding that was originally built to host the Olympics for the 96 equestrian team. And so I own that, and we've got 7 Airbnbs here, and just a beautiful property. I also live here. So I host a lot of events here. However, I do get a good bit of clients for wedding planning consulting at other venues around this area. So
Got it. Got it. I love that. I love that. I love it. And talk about team. I assume team is very important. I'm assuming, especially at the scale you're doing it, whether you're going away or it's there. Can you talk about that a bit? Is it employees? Is it a mix of contractors? And what's your advice to us? I want to start to get your advice for other business owners listening. I'm assuming, could be wrong, that team is one thing that may be very an important part of your success.
Yeah, yeah. I've, gone through all the options over the years of, exploring. You know how it is if you've owned a business. I mean, you go through 100, 200 people sometimes to find the
Yes.
perfect one. It's really hard. For me personally, I feel like all of my businesses are a family business and my team is really important.
Mhm.
Obviously, everyone will say trust is very important in running a business. But for me, I'm like, I tell all my employees, first of all, I'm like, you need to love me. um, because I'm going to love you and we're going to make things happen for each other for the best possible outcome for our clients and each other. So we all have the best experience and set each other up for success. So it's been a journey, but I've found right now that the best way to, team for me is to have a personal team that's kind of my personal assistant slash venue assistants of about 5 people that help me, behind the scenes, help me with the phone calls, help me with tours, a little bit of everything. I really like for them to be as well versed as they can. Sometimes you're doing flowers, sometimes you're getting a cake ready. You know what I mean? It just really depends. And then I love having contractors, independent contractors, as my family by choice, my vendors, my friends, everything like that. I dabbled in kind of obviously being a business person. I've dabbled in owning all the businesses myself.
Mhm.
And doing it all myself, that comes with a lot of stress.
It does.
And to be quite honest, there's times that you don't want to do all of that and take it all on, and it's hard to deny your clients one of your services, but allow them to have one of the other. So I realized for me that it was only doable for me to have certain businesses and leave the other stuff to other people. I mean, I can do a little bit of everything, but if I spread myself too thin, I'm not going to do it as well as what I should. I'm going to neglect something. So I've decided to keep myself small and rely on vendors such as catering. I don't want to do catering. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a DJ. I don't want to be a photographer. I don't want to edit photos, but I do own a bakery. I am ordained, so I can, do a ceremony for people. I
Yep.
do flowers in house. I do decor in house, wedding planning, so I do a lot of stuff ourselves. But I rely on vendors to do those other things that I don't want to do that I'm probably not ever going to be great at.
That is a gem. I love that. It's my understanding, Dixie, that you are a self-made business owner, which I am as well. Some people are not. I don't think it's bad. I hope our kids are not, as it were, meaning I hope to help them on the road. But can you talk about that? Let's go back X number of years, whatever, how far that is, and where you were not who you are today. And can you paint where that was, whatever that may be? And then I'd love to know some of the milestones, Ramon. And now I'm Dixie Bagley here today. Can you walk us through where you were and how you got there? Unpack that
Yeah,
story
I
for us.
think it's always just kind of been a thing. I grew up, I'm from Mississippi. I had a
Okay.
single mom. I did not have a great childhood growing up. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, I have no regrets about it. It's made me the woman I am today, but I was fortunate to have good grandparents. My grandmother worked for the University Medical Center. So I got to spend a lot of time there watching other people, successful people, doctors, dentists, stuff like that. I joking say that was my daycare. I hung out there a lot. So at an early age, I really got to see a lot of, successful people behind the scenes and be surrounded by them. When I was with my grandmother. And then my mom and I moved, she married like a fourth time. We moved to Georgia and I was probably like 13. And I just knew I knew that I wasn't going to have my grandmother and my grandparents to lean back on at that point. And I
Mm.
knew that I was just something clicked. I just knew I was going to have to take care of myself. And so I went to Ryan's Steakhouse, told him I was 15 years old and got a hostess job.
Of course you did.
And then after that, shortly started working for my mother's hairdresser, swept his floors every time she would go get her haircut. I would be in his salon and doing things, and he hired me.
And
And
at
I
that
worked.
point, was that just to get cash? Since you had to take care of yourself, you're like, if I want this, if I want that, I'm going to have to find a way. Was that just survival at that point?
Yes, it was
Okay,
survival. I
got it.
just knew that my mom, I mean, and not bashing her
I
by
understand.
any means, but I just knew she wasn't going to
Yeah.
do and provide for
Yeah.
me. And I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I wanted something better. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like I just knew that I did not want to always be the girl from Mississippi. I did not want
Yes.
to be like what I saw growing up.
Mm.
I didn't want to be my mom, having to rely on being married constantly to
Yeah.
get by or something like that. And I just knew that I just wanted something better. It's
Yeah.
always been there. I always knew that. And so that was a big driving factor for me. And I've always had a very sink or swim mentality.
Mm.
And I think that's obviously benefited me greatly growing up and going through all my business endeavors.
I love that. So what was the tipping point, the pinnacle before you became a business owner when you started transition from not poverty per se, but survival. I need to make 20 bucks today. Can I sweep a floor for $10 or whatever the thing was?
Yeah.
When did you make that shift now to business owner? Because you've had jobs then, maybe you've had others, but talk about that shift into, hey, I want my own business. I have a client. And what was that
Yeah.
business in? Talk about that.
Yeah. Probably I was actually a personal trainer before CrossFit was a thing for the guy, a guy here in Rome. And he asked me to come work for him because as a bored housewife, I tried being a housewife for a moment. And during that time, I actually got certified as a trainer, went online with ACE, American Council on Exercise, and spent
You
a
don't
lot of
mess
time.
around.
Yeah, just reading. I just became certified, and I finished that certification and started the next. I'm not a know-it-all, but I am a learn-it-all. If I have free time, I'm going to learn how to do something. And so he found out while he was my trainer, he was like, "You're certified." I had no idea. And apparently that was a hard certification to get. And he asked me to come work for him. And I looked at him and said, "I will come work here." I said, "But you need to understand that I am going to come work here with you, not for you." I was like, I'm not capable of being an employee. I was like, so even though it's your business, I was like, I respect that. I was like, but you're going to have to respect the fact that I'm going to come in and I'm going to operate like it's my business and like I'm the boss and I'm going to tell you things and it can't hurt your feelings because it's nothing personal. I was like, it's just my personality. I'd had time at that point. I'd gone through a divorce, gone through a lot of stuff, remarried, educated myself on a lot of things. And I was like, I'm not an employee. I'm just not. And I had time to really learn about myself through all of those experiences and know that I was going into this. And I found in life that it's so much easier if you meet somebody, whether it's your spouse, a friend, a coworker, a client. And if you tell them, if you give them your biography and say, "Listen, here's the way I operate. I'm going to tell you what I think and like it's my business, even though it's not. Don't let it hurt your feelings. Feel free to absorb it. Feel free to say, Dixie, simmer down. You're overwhelming me." But I found that it's just so much better to just put it out there and just be honest about who I am. And that way it doesn't waste my time. It doesn't waste your time. You know what I mean? And we're like, okay, we can do this. We can move forward.
Talk about some of those conflict resolutions, Dixie. You can use a metaphor or real life, meaning, is there a difference between, hey, listen, I think that color's not so great, but let's try it. Maybe I'm wrong. That's one approach. Or based on my experience, it is too hot in here. And if we keep doing this, I just can't work with you. If you get what I'm trying to ask, help us understand the differences of Dixieisms, how you would say, this is an opinion, maybe a thought, and this is hard stop. Nope, this is the way it has to be, or we're going to have serious problems. Can you unpack that a bit more?
Yeah, I've gotten better about that. I realize, especially doing weddings, it's a great thing because people come in and they like what they like. It may be something I hate, you know what I mean? Like a color, a jar, stuff like that I really don't want to do. But I always tell them, like, listen, this is your wedding. I've been married twice before. So if this is what you like, this is okay. But I always find a way to sandwich it and say, hey, but if you want your wedding to be picked up and featured on a bunch of blogs and see it all over Instagram, you probably shouldn't go with this choice. It's not going to be the best choice. If you're picking this vendor to work with, full disclosure, nothing against him or her. I've not had great experiences, nor has other people in the wedding industry. And I always tell people, I'm like, when I'm giving you my opinion on something, it's my opinion based on my personal experience. I'm like, if you want to really do your homework, you get online and check that out. I mean, for example, with couples, I'm like, don't rely on what your friend said about a vendor. You need to get online and see what other vendors are saying about that vendor to really know your facts. And so I always try to, sandwich it and be complimentary and find something nice to say at the same time. We all have faults. We all have things that aren't great about us. But, I tell people, I'm like, if you come to sit down in my chair because you want to know what I want to know, I'm going to tell you that, and you can't let it hurt your feelings. Just like if I'm going to my accountant and they're like, listen, Dixie, you're not spending money the right way and you're not doing this. I have to listen to that and respect that. I may not like it, but I paid him to do that. So
I love it. How have you gotten clients over the years, Dixie? Has it been a challenge for you, or have you just been increasingly word of mouth, as how many of us, or other things? And how have you done it? And what's your tip always for the audience, how they may learn from you and do it too, getting customers?
Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed. I think that being authentic has been a huge help. I also
Mm,
think my name, which I hated growing up for obvious reasons,
it is
came with a
unique.
lot of teasing.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure.
my name has been, been a blessing because it's easy for people to
That's right.
remember. There's not a whole lot of Dixies in the wedding business. There's not a whole lot of successful Dixies in general in
Mhm.
business. And so that's been a blessing in disguise. But, starting out, I hustled. I got on every free social media network and I every single day was posting something. Facebook, TikTok obviously is new, or Instagram, anything like that, just took full advantage of because I did not have the money to
Mm.
advertise for myself and do things. I didn't have the money to buy my client, but being consistent with that, and also being reflecting and being authentic and being a good person and delivering on what I promised, not over promising, just kind of made word of mouth synonymous and continues to get me business. And I mean, even now, like I said, if you're a dad, your child's getting married, you look up a wedding planner who has paid $30,000 for her website, but has nothing to back it up.
Mhm.
But she paid $30,000 and it looks good, it's pretty. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or you're going to go over here to somebody like me, who's, yes, I have a great website,
sure. I'm sure you
but
do.
you're also going to see all the backup and be like, she's got all these businesses. Like, who do I want to give my money to? If I'm just going to hand my money to this person to plan my child's wedding, who do I trust more? The girl that just, used her college fund to buy a pretty website, or the
Right.
one who has numerous businesses and can back up what she's talking about?
I love that. One thing that comes out about you, it seems to be, and tell me if you agree. If you disagree, it's okay. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But I'm hearing from you. I feel not combined. What's the word? A like spirit that
Mhm.
hustle, hard work, and some people say, "Oh no, hustle's no longer," but hustle and then be smart about it. Like you said, Amy Porterfield, her book, Everything is Figure Outable. So I think that
Yeah.
hustle, and I see your nod, combined with figuring it out and just doing good stuff to good people, and you'll
Mhm.
succeed. Do you affirm with basics? So that's kind of what your journey has been like, or other
Yeah, I
things?
definitely do. And I think that you don't give up so easily. I mean, every day, there have been so many times that like
Yes. Don't give
things have
up.
happened, a client's hurt my feelings, or, things didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. But very rarely, honestly, can I say I haven't been successful at something.
Mhm.
And not saying that I'm good at everything, but meaning I didn't give up every time I got knocked down. And
That's
I
right.
certainly got knocked down being a product of a single mom from Mississippi, and working from the time I was 13. I certainly got knocked down a
Mhm.
lot, but I never let it consume me. I
Mhm.
just always got back up. I always had a sink or swim mentality. And I think that having that mentality of it can be better, like
Yes.
whatever just happened that was bad and didn't turn out the way I wanted it to be, that's not the end, that's not it.
Mhm.
A lot of that has to do with personality. Not everybody has it. That's why there are people who run businesses and people who don't,
That's right.
um
And
and
neither
who
are
run
better per
businesses
se.
well.
Yes. Oh, and say that part again.
People who run businesses well.
Yes. And neither are better. I mean, we need people who want to be employees, want to work within a team, want to be
Yeah.
within a system and say, Dixie, you're taking the risk. It's your line of credit, your risk. You're staying up all night. I'll work for you. God
Mhm.
bless America. And some of
Yeah.
us are like the opposite, like me, probably can't be a great employee because I have the vision. I'm willing to take the risk and I want to do it this way. Seth Godin says, right? We get to serve who we want, how we want, with whom we want
Mhm.
as business owners. So I love that, Dixie. So many things I could ask you, and I want to save time to have you again on the rundown with Ramon. And I want to put this on my show as well, USA Today. But anything I haven't asked you, Dixie, like Ramon, I really wanted to get this one or two things out. And before you answer that, one more time, can you give us a website or best way to reach you? I'm sure we can just look you up, but tell the people who are listening to you and they want to maybe leverage your wedding services or other things. What's the best way to
Yeah.
find you?
They can find me at thefarmromega.com. That's our venue. Dixie does weddings, dixiebagley.com, Instagram for both of those things. My bakery is the Sweet Bar in Rome, Georgia. So, but basically, the easiest thing to do is just Dixie Bagley. Google that
Love it.
and
We will
fall
do
down
it.
the rabbit hole.
Love it. Love it. So anything I didn't ask you or anything you wanted to share, hey, Ramon, I really wanted to get this out. Anything that comes to
No,
mind for
I
you?
just think, for whoever your listeners are, take anything from this, just don't give up and be
Mhm.
authentic and, live in your moment and be confident in what you're doing and know that you're doing it for the right reasons and keep on trucking. I mean,
Yeah.
and just persevere at it.
I love that. Dixie Bagley, thank you for being with us on the Rundown with Ramon. My name is Ramon Ray. This is the Rundown with Ramon with Dixie Bagley. Don't forget to check her out. You want some of this hustle? Follow Dixie on all the channels. And this is Ramon Ray, publisher of zoneofgenius.com with the Rundown with Ramon.